to the Trews. The Trews is a sort of an amalgam of the words true and news, where I do the true news. Now, you is the most notorious manipulator of news in the history of mankind. New Labour's Goebbels, you were called by someone once, weren't you?
No.
Now, the general tone of the Trews is that this operates as a kind of that the press operates as a hypnotic device, feeling the consciousness of our people with mindless dross and anaesthesia, while by the back door, consumer objects are constantly propagated.
Yeah.
You've been the political advisor or communications director for a centrist political government for a decade, was it?
Yeah.
So when you see like a paper like the Mirror paper that you worked for, they lead with loan sharks threaten mums at school. Is there anything behind that story? Could you sort of cause in my mind, I feel like you could sort of read it as if it's tea leaves.
Right. What does it say?
Loan sharks.
Exclusive. Usually, if it says exclusive, it's not.
Right.
That's the first rule.
A mum spoke yesterday of her fear after a sinister loan shark allegedly picked up her children from school. Debbie Wilson, 45. So what is it that sounds like there's not? Twisted loan sharks are stepping up their thuggery to scare hard parents. But the Mirror, in a way, it seems like it's tapping into this culture of debt that we've got in Britain at the moment. Wonga, payday loans, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And this is adding an element. This is sort of fear-mongering, but sort of from the pseudo-left.
No, I think if you just you couldn't do a front page saying there are loan sharks in Britain.
Right. Because we know that.
We know that. I think that is an angle on a story that people know about.
So there's a sort of, you think there's a general culture of people who are interested in loan sharks, and then they
don't like them.
Right.
So that plays into that. I don't see that as a politically motivated story.
It's not politically motivated.
No.
There's another story here about Muslim extremists targeting lags. Good tabloid speak for convicts, of course. Now, what do you think about sort of Islamophobia, the halal story, the sort of climate of fear around immigration, the rise of UKIP? What do you think is the media's role in that?
Well, the media's role should be. I think they've got to cover it.
Right.
But I don't think they should fuel it. And I think a lot of the papers come perilously close to fueling it.
Yeah, I think they do.
That being said, I think the genuine worries about extremism, genuine worries about fundamentalism, genuine worries about some of the stuff that goes on. But I think if that's all you ever hear about Islam, then we've got a problem.
Yeah, and that is like the majority of people. So what do we do? Why do you think that the press needs to be regulated differently or more responsibly?
Well, I'm in favour of what Leveson suggested, which does not remotely threaten a free press. I don't think you can start saying to people you have to cover issue X in a certain way, but I think it is important that people like you, people like me, talk about the press more generally and its cultural impact, because the papers don't do it. Even the broadsheets don't really. They sort of cover the tabloids in a kind of slightly sneery sort of way. But something like this is business of Islamic extremism, fundamentalism, whatever you want to call it. It's a serious issue. It's a real issue. But because the coverage itself can have consequences, I think they just got to be a bit more careful now.
Yeah, I think.
I don't think you can regulate for that though.
Can't you? Can't you say, look, be a bit more responsible, will you?
You can say
It's
that.
not social tension.
You can say that.
I don't know how Tony Blair put up with you, really, I don't. You're a very difficult man to work with. Now, what about this? Farage's fears of protesters is ridiculous. Nigel Farage sparked anger yesterday by claiming he needed bodyguards to save him from anti-racist groups. UKIP leader said organisations headed by senior Labour figures were behind violent demonstrations, naming Unite Against Fascism and Hope Not Hate. But Hope Not Hate's Nick Lowell said Mr Farage's comments to the BBC were utterly ridiculous. Right. What do you think about that? What's going on there?
I did notice the other day Farage arriving on the telly at an event, and he had a couple of guys with earpieces. Oh. I did notice that. I saw Farage. I interviewed him for GQ recently.
How was he?
He was all right. I didn't think he was that interesting, to be honest.
What is it that people like about Nigel
I think what they
Farage?
like about him is that he's not the others.
Right.
And I think he taps that quite well. And they like the fact that he speaks his mind in the way that he does. he taps into this kind of anti-everything feeling in a sort of positive, cheery sort of way.
So none of those things are actually, in a way, essential to. Like, I mean, of course, there are, as you say, genuine fears around immigration, but mainly what people like is that he's not everyone else. So it's sort of, in a way, when people are mimicking Farage, it shouldn't be his politics that they're interested in or his policies, but more his manner, like his transparency, his truthfulness, or his openness. I don't know. His affability.
In a way, because he's in a funny sort of way, for things like mid-term elections, he's replaced the Lib Dems and the SDP, as was. He's become the sort of go-to protest vote person.
I see.
And because the Lib Dems are now part of the government, Labour's the main opposition, so you don't have an obvious protest party. He's become the obvious protest party. But the one thing he admitted in the interview I did with him, he says that he'd be absolutely hopeless as a Prime Minister. He wouldn't have a clue where to start. And that again is part of his sort of trading on this idea of being very different to the others. So I think it's quite deliberate.
Do you think that is there always a limit to how much success these kind of political figures can have?
I think so.
All right. Well,
Victoria Beckham on Twitter.
Yeah, go on.
This rhyme snap she posted on Twitter.
Look at this. Was your life like this? I hope you weren't doing it at this kind
I
of
wasn't.
avuncular pace. Oh, Tony, Victoria Beckham's on Twitter. I don't know what to do. Look at you. This is the story you should be looking at. If you're aged 50 to 85, you're in. But when you see that the 25 richest people in Britain have like this kind of incredible wealth, billions and billions, the super rich, and there's a slap a super tax on UK's billionaires. Isn't it that the only reason that you can't make a real difference to inequality because we're not prepared to change the system significantly? I mean, what if we were prepared? What if we were prepared to dream big? What if we were prepared to have a real vision of change?
So what's your vision?
What could you do?
Take the money. What do you do? 90%.
I don't know about taxation on income because I've looked at the back of Thomas Piketty's book and I'm prepared to say that wealth is what we're interested in, not income, because that's how they avoid paying taxes, because it's not about income, it's about wealth. So we'd say, like, right, look, you lot are in Britain, we would encourage you to give us, no one needs 10 billion, that's too much money. Can you help us with these hospitals and schools? That's phase one. Phase two does involve a little bit more aggression.
What are they going to be left with? What's the limit they can have?
Right, so this is how, this is
let's go straight to Abramovich. Well, these are the packaging people.
What's job seekers' allowance under the New Deal?
I
remember from when I used to get it, Alistair, it was about 48 quid a week.
Okay.
Let's get you back into half government, but this time for a truly egalitarian, genuine, representational People's Party. And it is the People's Party. How about proper representation of the ordinary people of Britain? Not necessarily high taxing, but a wealth redistributing, egalitarian.
Well, they have to vote. They have to vote for it.
Well, first we'll do the manifesto.
Okay, but they have to vote for it. You understand?
No wars. We'll get our own oil. Okay. Well, I think that this is. I think we've got a basic understanding of today's events. You seem like a lovely man.
Thank you.
Nice one. That was some Trews.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.